Hey everybody, and welcome to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I am Eric. Up for a review today, Highland Park, 16 years old, Twisted Tattoo. As always here on the channel, I'm going to give you a nose taste finish review of this single malt whiskey. I'll tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts, a final score, and leave you with the malt musing. But first, a bit about Highland Park and this 16-year-old Twisted Tattoo. So, Highland Park Distillery, located way up north off the coast of Scotland in the Orkney Islands. And depending on who you ask, this is considered either a Highland or a island region whiskey, although it's questionable whether these things have any significance at all. As for the Twisted Tattoo, here's what the box looks like. Whole bunch of information on this. It comes in a bottle like this, just solid black. Really unfortunate because you can never really see the fill level. I always wish that they would put something on these so you could see through them, but pretty fancy looking bottle. And here's what it has to say about this whiskey. So first and foremost, this is 46.7% ABV, and it is a high proportion of first fill Rioja wine casks, which are from Spain, married with a smaller portion of first fill bourbon. 153 casks laid down between the 11th of May 2000 and October 29, 2001, and filled into first fill Rioja wine casks March 2016. The 71st fill bourbon casks are from 1999. These are married together in September 2018. So a whole bunch of information about the whiskey itself. There's also a bunch of information about the background on it in very classic Highland Park fashion. A lot of narrative here, which I will spare you. But I will note, the design here itself is actually made by a real tattoo artist. His name is Colin Dale. He's Danish, and really did all of the kind of design for this, which is supposed to, as it relates to the story about an Arabian envoy from Baghdad and Viking traders who had a lot of tattooing, did something to try to acknowledge that story. So that's what the box looks like. That's the background on Highland Park. Here's that bottle again. This is, it does say natural color here, but it doesn't mention anything about whether it's non-chill filtered or not. So we are going to assume this whiskey has been chill filtered. But enough about that. Let's get it in the glass. All right. Here is the color, and they say this is a natural color. Rioja wine comes in both white and red varieties, so you be the judge of that. The wine itself, pretty sweet, drying. Okay, let's dive in. Sweet on the nose. Cherry, sweet fruits, vanilla. Little bit of a honey note. Basically, you're getting some sweet, faint hint of smoke. Highland Park does usually have a little bit of peat smoke in their whiskey. It's called heather peat, so it's a much sweeter peat. You're definitely getting a bit of that here in the nose. Let's go a little deeper. Red berries, light caramel. Maybe a hint of an herbal note, but sweet fruit is the dominant note here on the nose, which is definitely coming from that wine background, a little bit of that first fill bourbon. Okay, let's give this a taste, Salencha. Rich arrival. Sweet, slight bitter. It develops into kind of a lot of fruit notes. Cherry, again, kind of just dark berries. You get a little bit of that effervescent peat in it, tingles a bit. Then oak, dark chocolate, kind of riding it out as it goes into kind of a medium finish. A little bit of peach. Dark chocolate, vanilla, just kind of hanging around. Pretty well balanced. I think they got the marriage pretty good on this one. Nothing's really overpowering the other. Everything's kind of working really well so far. Put a little bit of water on this. Teaspoon or so. This is 46.7%. Let's see what happens with the water. Again, sweet, a bit of oak char. Again, that slight hint of smoke is there. Not a lot changing on the nose with water. As I said, this whiskey seemed rather balanced on that first taste, so not getting it much different here. Maybe a little bit of a menthol note. Again, though, it's really driven by vanilla, berries, maybe some peach, maybe even a little bit of pear melon. And the red fruit, sweet red fruit, dark berry. Okay, another taste. Again, quite rich. You get a nice, sweet dose of that fruit note right away with the addition of water. A little bit of dark chocolate's kind of dissipated. It's a much more drying, tannic oakiness now, but a lot of just juicy, like juicy fruit gum, slight apple, peach, honey, all heading into kind of a little bit of that darker notes coming in on the finish. It still seems to be hanging around medium. Dark chocolate, maybe like baking chocolate, a bit bitter. Little vanilla, little caramel. Okay, so bottle of the Highland Park Twisted Tattoo. Not an exclusive whiskey, but not core range necessarily. You might have to hunt around for this, and if you do find it, it's going to run you about $100. It does have an age statement of 16 years, plus there. It is natural color, also a plus, unfortunately, likely chill filtered. All in all, I think this is like a moderate value whiskey. I mean, you're not going to find a lot of things younger than 16 years old. You know, on that price, it's usually this is about as high as it gets for a 16-year-old whiskey, depending on what you're buying. So it's right around the right price. Okay, final thoughts here on the Highland Park 16 years old Twisted Tattoo. This is a whiskey that, despite having a clear wine maturation, it really is actually balanced. Sometimes you tend to find some of the wine matured whiskeys or wine finished whiskeys especially tend to be a bit on the overpowering side. This one I think is playing together really well. They did a good job marrying these together. I think they got it pretty close to as right as you can get in terms of the first fill bourbon and the Rioja casks. It is not the most complex whiskey I've had. I think you'd expect maybe a little bit more complexity from a 16-year-old, but those wine casks are really the things I think that are kind of overtaking some of the more subtle notes you might get out of a Highland Park around this age that wasn't in wine. So if you're interested in a wine matured whiskey with a lot of sweetness and a little bit of that signature Highland Park flavor, the Twisted Tattoo is not a bad pick. Otherwise, you know, I don't think this is a must go out and get. So my score on the Highland Park Twisted Tattoo is going to be a respectable 3.5 out of 5, which means I recommend you give this a try or pick up a bottle if you see it at a good price. Okay, y'all. That is my review of Highland Park 16-year-old Twisted Tattoo. Do hit subscribe if you've yet to. That way you won't miss any of my reviews, which come out every single Friday. I also do a live happy hour at 8 o'clock Eastern time every Tuesday. So tune in for that. Hit the bell. That makes sure you won't miss a thing. And with that, I'll send you to your malt musing, and I'll catch you next week here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. Sláinte, y'all.